Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's another wonderful episode of Board Game Talk. I'm John Caspian.
And I'm Joseph Collins.
And I'm Emily.
And we're joined by...
Emily, yes. I think we talked over another for a minute there, but it's okay. It's okay.
It's my first time.
We're doing it live. So, Emily, welcome. You are doing a new feature that we're doing in store Thursday nights, which is you're hosting Board Game Nights. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so basically, I'm just going to be introducing a new game. Sometimes we'll kind of run into a couple of weeks with the same game, but hopefully we'll introduce new games, a couple of new games every month that may or may not be released yet. And I'll be learning them so that I can teach them to anybody who comes and joins us. And for now, we're going to be doing that Thursday nights from 5 to 10. And then hopefully if we get enough of a crowd, we can do them on Saturdays as well. So that'll be fun.
Well, board game nights is always a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah, bold.
Today, or this week, we have Tapestry, which is a very heavy box, but it is made by Stonemaier Games, which, if anyone is familiar with that name, they would most associate that with Wingspan, a very successful game, very popular game. And I think this one's going to be equally popular because it's got a lot of the same sort of mechanics as Wingspan, but it is a more competitive civilization building game. So to kind of describe it, I just described it to somebody else as similar to Catan, but on steroids. Ooh. So you're building your civilization up and getting resources to help with that. But there are multiple ways you can go about doing that. There are different tracks that you can focus on. So there's science, exploration, military, and technology. So there are a lot of different things that you can do to make the game more interesting. And I've only just been introduced to it, so I haven't been able to see it really in action, but it seems like it is a gorgeous game, and it seems like it could be a lot of fun with multiple players.
Do you mind if we open it up
absolutely.
So the people what they expect in the game?
Yeah. So this is going to be tomorrow night, which is Thursday, November 14th, starting at 5 p.m. So do you want people to show up a couple of minutes early or show up right at 5?
Yeah, I would say if you want to show up early to kind of get familiar, we can go over the rules a little bit because there is a lot of setup. There are a lot of moving pieces in this game. It took me, the first time I opened the game and read the rules through, it took me about a couple hours to actually do all the setup. But now that I know how to, it shouldn't take me that long. But this is...
So is it something like Mysterium in the sense that when you first get Mysterium, you're like, what the heck is all this stuff?
No, not games like this. Games like this, Mysterium is a lighter version. These type of games is where you get, if you're not experienced, if you're like first time board gaming, you want to stay away from these games, unless you have someone who actually can help you through it.
Gotcha. So if you're a whole bunch of brand new players, not necessarily the best one, but good for if someone is experienced or people who want to dive in.
Exactly. I mean, it's
nice.
There's a lot of heavy rules because if she taught me how to play the game, because I played so many games, I would be able to pick up what mechanisms in the game, because this mechanism may be in Catan, or this mechanism may be in Twilight Imperium 4. Mm-hmm. So the more games you're exposed to, the more mechanisms you're exposed to, and the more you're just like, okay, yeah, that's like this, that's like that. I understand how this thing works overall.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little daunting to look at all the little individual pieces that were packed into this box, and there are a lot of little individual pieces. But once I read through the rules, got it all set up, and watched a couple of videos kind of walking through it. It was pretty straightforward after that. So like it seems like a lot up front, but it's actually, there's not too much to it once you play through it. So like there's these awesome, I want to show you all of these cool little
this is what I'm drawn to the most. Look at this. It's a spaceship.
So these are the artistry that goes into this game is like really astonishing. Like the detail on these figures is incredible to me.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been playing board games, my entire life, I really appreciate a well-crafted game.
Yeah.
And this is definitely well-crafted. Like Stonemaier, in my experience, doesn't put out a bad game.
Yeah.
So
It-
I have high expectations for this.
It's really nice to have components like this, because for me, if the theme is strong and the components are such good qualities, I can actually use my imagination and immerse myself into the universe that they're trying to create and sell. So these type of components really go a long way with that. And it also shows how much care a company puts into it, because if they care about producing a board game, then we can care more about playing the board game.
Exactly.
Because they also took more care of us and respected us as gamers to give us something of quality, and not just like, oh, here's a piece of paper with numbers on it kind of thing. So those are good for demo copies, like when you're first trying to create a game, but not when you're trying to sell them.
Exactly.
So
That's nice. So then, are these like miniature quality, like the same stuff you would get in a miniatures game?
I would say so. Like
Yeah.
they're a little less than like, Warhammer quality type thing. But for a board game, like the designs and the thought put into each individual little piece, like we've got like a little barn here, and each individual piece kind of like plays into a different track, so they kind of have an overarching design to those. So like eventually you'll be going into space, so they have these little spaceships, and that's just really cool to me that they thought through it that much.
and if you're sitting there waiting for the rules to be explained, you can always build yourself a mini village.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, exactly. just put this to pass the time away.
but it's nice.
So then, how long does a typical game take?
The box says 90 to 120 minutes, but according to my initial playthrough, which was kind of like a solo version, like me playing against myself, and a couple of videos that I watched, it can be around 2 hours. I would say like a typical two to 3 person game would probably be on average 2.5 hours.
It's a good chunk of time, but it's a good.
Now, would you consider this one of those thinkers games where you really strategize before you do actions? Because I've always found that those type of games are a lot more on the cognitive side of the brain side.
So that's why I kind of described it as Catan on steroids. Is like Catan has a mild strategic theme to it. This is that times 10. Like, since you're exploring and doing military stuff and doing science stuff, like there are all these different tracks you can achieve. Basically, is like you have to really think about, okay, what am I going to focus on? What's my next move going to be?
Yeah.
And like if anybody's played Wingspan, you know that there's like a turn limit. So you have to think that far ahead and be like, okay, what can I achieve in this many turns? Can I get there and beat my opponent in that many turns? So you really have to concentrate on what you're doing and make sure that like you're paying attention to all the individual moves.
And what I heard about this is that each path to victory is very asymmetrical. It's like you can win if you do science, or if you do military, or
and
kind of like the Civilization video games.
Yeah,
I've never played them. So.
So
yeah, they're kind of like that. You can end up doing a peaceful victory if you want to.
But to kind of add to it, you can go on, like, you can have these different sort of I guess you would call them character abilities. I don't know what the game calls them, but they're cards that you randomly get at the beginning of the game. And
special goal cards.
Yeah, it kind of, well, it's not a goal. It just kind of gives you a special ability each turn. So that in combination with the different tracks, like you're really going to be playing a different game every time you open this game.
So it's kind of like if you play Cosmo County, you are given an alien race that gives you a superpower at the beginning of the game.
Right.
Yeah. So let's see. I mean, there's definitely a lot here. Like traders.
So the nice thing about this is yes, there are a lot of complex moving individual pieces, and there are a lot of symbols on this. Like there are very few words on this board and the like player mats. So looking at them for the first time, you may not understand what's going on, but they have these really cool reference guides that you can keep at your side in case you have any questions about, okay, what does this symbol mean? And it'll basically explain everything without you having to like skip too much of a beat. So like if you're like, oh, what does that card do? You just look on the reference guide and say, oh, okay, I want that.
Yeah, when reminds me of Race for the Galaxy. Have you played that one? Race for the Galaxy?
No.
Yeah, if you play Race for the Galaxy, it's a whole new language you have to learn when it comes to the symbols. So it's kind of like negative and positive numbers. You have all these new symbols, and it's a completely different language. So, but it's always good to have reference sheets. So,
like hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Exactly, hieroglyphics. So,
but like once you kind of look through it and get the overarching idea of the game, the symbols are pretty crystal clear. Like there were only a few times when I was doing my initial playthrough where I was like, okay, I have no idea what that means, but like it's there on the reference guide, so it wasn't too much of a hindrance to me.
And also, it's also a good idea for game companies to use symbols that also are that looks like another symbol. You find another one, like for example, you have these wreaths over here with the house. That looks like a victory point to me.
Yeah, and that's very astute because that means that you are getting points towards the end of the game
for every house
basically every of that color house that you have.
There you go.
So
nice. So this is a classic Euro style. Is there direct combat in this?
There is no direct combat, but actually, sorry, there is a form of combat, but it is conquest. So you know how in Catan you're building houses on your territories, and once you build like a road, nobody can pass through that. In this game, people can definitely take over your territory.
Oh.
But they can only do it once, so like there's a limit to how much conquest you can do. But definitely, like when you're exploring on the explore track, you can go and like take over stuff. So it's
not like Trial Imperium 3 where you build this massive army then send them over to your other players.
Yeah, so it's like the exploration track and the military track kind of work really well together because like in order to build up your military, you have to have a place to go to.
Yeah.
And in order to go places, you have to work on the exploration track. So, and then vice versa, science and technology work really well together. So if you're working on one of those tracks, you'll probably want to also focus on the other one. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So then tomorrow night at 5 p.m. So anyone that wants to join, they can just come on by, play the game. You'll teach them. Can you show us the box art one more time?
Yes, it is.
So Tapestry is the game.
Super beautiful box art. Like as an artist,
nice.
I really appreciate.
All
of the design work that they do.
I've kept so many of my game boxes simply because of the design. I didn't want to give them because I love the art design so much.
Yes.
But this was also one of the most highly anticipated games of the year when it was first announced. It was.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know that it will surpass Wingspan in popularity, but I do think it'll be just as enjoyable, and I think a lot of people will really.
Now, Emily, you'd be good. What is the whole deal with Wingspan?
So Wingspan is an incredibly beautiful game. Again, like as an artist, I really appreciate it because they put a lot of thought into the game. It is a game all about birds, which for anybody who knows me knows that I am a huge fan of birds, and this game just like called to me instantly. But like this, it is a strategy game, so you are trying to basically breed through different environments as different kinds of birds, and they definitely did their research with it because there is almost every kind of bird in that game, and they knew enough about all of the different species of birds to like build that into the game. So it's like if you have this one certain kind of bird, it only breeds in this certain environment and it does this sort of thing and it feeds on this sort of food, and it's a gorgeous game.
So the object of the game is: are you like a bird keeper trying to breed birds, or are you?
No, you are the birds.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
birds.
basically playing as the birds, which
Okay.
is really fun.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Now,
Okay.
they do have expansion coming out for Wingspan.
Yes, which I'm very excited.
Yes,
Yeah.
Europe, all the Europe birds.
So even more birds.
Yes, absolutely. So, and not only that, but again, from what I've seen, the components are really nice too.
Yes.
So-
Again, like Stonemaier games, they put a lot of
Mhm.
thought into the design work.
Yeah.
All of the little pieces are really great. You get these cute little egg tokens that kind of they're like victory points basically,
Okay.
but like you can lay eggs in your different nests, and it's just like, it's a precious game. So
Adorable.
it is really super cute.
Adorable.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Oh yeah.
So you heard it, folks. Thursday nights, make sure you do it at 5 p.m. Let's talk about a couple of other games. We wanted to talk this week about team versus team games, since it is Fantasy Football Month.
Yes.
Fantasy being, of course, in quotes, because things like Blood Bowl are technically fantasy according to us gamers, right? So we wanted to talk this week about Sonar.
Sonar. Oh yes, Captain Sonar. It's
Oh,
one of the
yes.
it's on the everyday top 40, and it's basically, when I first heard an announcement, I thought it was a really cool idea, because if you're familiar with Star Trek, you have all these you have all the Star Trek game called Star Trek Bridge Crew. It's a virtual reality game that every player is basically playing one of the stations of the bridge. So one could be tactical, one could be the captain, one could be the helms, and one could be operation, and they're all working together to try to complete missions. Well, in Captain Sonar, you are a team. You have two teams. It's like Hunt for Red October, if you know that movie. You have one submarine hunting down another submarine, and you have two teams trying to hunt the other team down. And each player is playing a station on the submarine, so they have to communicate with one another about where the other submarine is. So you have one who's actually like drawing a line of where one submarine is. One may be keeping an eye on the pressure gauge, and the other one is maybe the captain. And so it's a really fun tactical game where it's one-on-one, and it's a hunt for that October game. So
it
kind
sounds
It's
of
cool because you're playing across the table from each other,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you're literally looking across at your enemies as if they're in the ship.
exactly. It's
So cool.
Yeah, it's like a Battleship almost, and you can hear one another. So kind of have I don't know. So you don't need to have that. You don't need to make a ping to find somebody, because you can just listen to the other side. But I'm sure you can do that in the game. But I would like to really give a shot. I haven't had a chance to give it a shot myself. But it's a 2 to 8 players. It has a couple expansions, and it takes about 45 minutes to play. So if you're looking for, like, you have family coming in for Thanksgiving, and it's like, let's play a team on teams game. This game is
Way better than talking about politics, for sure.
way better, because that will cause problems.
That's kind of true of every board game, though. Most every board game.
Yep. So yeah, almost every board game. Board games.
Next up is Codenames.
Yes, actually, code names. Now, my personal favorite, me, because I'm being dyslexic, I'm not really good with words. So pictures are exactly the type of code name is a game for me, because you have pictures on this code name, but you have another, the first code name, which was just with words. And the concept of the game is basically you have two teams who are trying to find spies on the board. And you have one team player who's the clue giver, and he's trying to help his team find the right spies using words on the board, but he can't use.
So it might be a word like volcano.
Yeah, and you can sit there, and at the beginning of the game, you say, okay, well, I want you to, they'll give a key card at the beginning of the game that shows the pattern of where all the team members.
Right.
You have like red space. Here's what the red space is. Here's what the blue space is. And the clue giver is trying to direct his team to whatever space. If you're the blue team, you want to flip over all the blue tiles, or at least find all the blue tiles.
But you have to be careful, because there are innocent bystanders,
Mhm.
as well as one, what was it, the spy,
Yeah,
or
the
the assassin,
The
excuse me,
assassin, yes.
who, if anybody guesses that word that the assassin is, the game is instantly stopped there.
And the other team wins.
Yeah.
Or the other
So,
team gets points at least.
Codenames is actually one of my personal favorite games. It's a great party game, but like they do have a lot of different versions of Codenames. They have like a Disney version. They have
Marvel.
They do have a Marvel one.
Pictures.
I know they have a solo mode one now, I think.
Oh, okay.
And a cooperative too.
They also have duets.
They have a co-op. Duets.
Mhm.
They have an adult version one, which is actually a lot harder.
Okay, adult version.
I got that. That was
As
a good
in
one.
Rated R.
Rated R.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
all right, all right,
not
all
a
right,
family game, that one.
Yeah.
But
that's for after dark.
Yes.
Times.
but very fun if you are
What, after 9 p.m., right?
yeah. And very difficult.
Very difficult. Is it difficult? I mean,
It's a lot trickier to
Okay,
try and give.
I have had a lot of difficulty playing the cooperative one because when you're doing the co-op one, you have to get your guesses in a number of turns, like 4 turns.
Oh, really?
You only have 4 turns to guess all of them. So at some point, you have to be able to have the question giver or whatever, the person who's giving the clues, the clue giver, they have to give multiple like things that can line up. I don't think I've won that except like one time. It's really tough.
Wow. I have not played the cooperative one, so I'm very intrigued by
Now-
that.
now-
You know, I was talking earlier about thinking games, and that's definitely one where you don't want to be in a rush.
Yeah.
You just want to like think about it really hard, take a couple of minutes, and like make sure that exactly the word that you use is going to match up best with what you want to give.
if you want to look very quickly, look up a thinking game. Look up Mental Blocks. It's a new game that came out. It's a cooperative game, and it's a really cool game because very quickly the concept is every player at the table is given a picture of a shape, but they all have a different perspective of the shape. So so no one else knows what this perspective. So they're trying to build that shape using one another, just communicating. So
There's a similar game that's also a team game that I really enjoy called Concept.
Yes.
And that is a very pictographic game as well.
Mhm.
We were talking about like hieroglyphics and symbology and stuff like that. That one, similar to Codenames, kind of wants you to guess certain things based on the picture hints that your teammate gives you. So that one's very interesting, and I had a blast playing that the first time I learned it. So that's another good party game.
Yeah. Now another one which I bring out with to qualify. If you like your friendships and it's easy to destroy them, you may want to rethink this. But if you love lying to people and you don't mind,
Okay, what's the game?
you know, the kind of the harshness of it, then the very popular one that has been, very well known in the last couple of years is a game called The Resistance.
I was just thinking about this one.
Yeah, and what makes The Resistance fun is the concept of the game is basically it's in like a dystopia future, and you have this evil corporation taking over everything, and so you have a resistance infiltrating the underbelly of the corporations. But the corporations is like, we know who they are, so they decide to send spies into the resistance group. So you have the blue team and you have the red team. So let's say you have 10 players, which is it goes up to 5 to 10. And so you have 6 people who are blue, but the other 4 are spies. And at the beginning of the game, everybody gets to close their eyes, and only the spies open their eyes and get to identify who the other spies are. But the blue team, because their eyes are closed, they don't know who anybody else is. So once that's done, they have no information. So at the beginning of the game, everybody is you have this central board which has missions on it. It's like a sports game. It's a best of 3 series, a best of 5 series. Whichever team wins 3 first wins the round. So at the beginning of the game, you have someone who is the team captain, and he or she is given these cards that have fail or success on them, and every team member is given a pair of these cards. And if you're a resistant player, you have to play success. If you are a spy, you can play success or play fail. And the minute that the spy player plays the first fail and the mission fails, everybody suddenly is accusing one another of what's happening.
So it's a secret identity game.
It's a secret identity game, yeah.
Awesome.
So then if they play their cards too early, then they end up being too easy because you start off with only, 3 people on a team.
Well, that's
But then later missions, you end up getting more players on the team to go with it.
on low player counts. Yes, on higher player counts, if it's up to 10, then it's different because you have. I think once it gets past, I think 7 players. There's some missions that require 2 fails in order for the spies to win the round. So
Ooh.
it's really
So then not only are you negotiating like who is the spy, but the spies want to get on the missions as well. So if they like play their cards early and people suspect them, you can't get rid of the spies. You just don't take them on missions.
Now, and also the spies want to find a way to communicate with one another, because if both of them, if say all the spies are on the same mission, they don't want all to fail if it's the first mission, because they'll all be ousted.
Right. Interesting.
So you have that entire strategic thing, and it's really hard to, like I said, in friendship, because you want to trust your friends, but if you're looking at your friend and saying, "You're not a spy, are you?" "Oh no, I would never be a spy." It's like, okay, I trust you this time, and then it flips over and it spells like, "How could you lie to me?" And type of moments.
So good. It's such a good game.
I enjoy it. It's definitely it's a good game, and I know you definitely love this game. Definitely love the idea of lying to your friends.
There's not even lying, just casual deception, as I like to call it.
Lying is just a strong word. It's more just
it really is
leaning people away from the truth a bit.
It's not being married to truth necessarily.
Exactly. It's being married to
a little infidelity here and there, whatever.
Sure.
I say that if we
moral.
No, it's questionable.
It actually reminds me of a newer game that came out, I believe, last year on Kickstarter. It was an 80s themed secret identity game based around it's basically like Die Hard, but in a really ridiculous card game format. So
okay.
You have different roles that you play, and you're all playing the role of a hostage, and one person is playing the role as the action hero.
Oh.
And so it's kind of like those secret identity games like Secret Hitler or Werewolf or Resistance, where you all have to play through your roles and act those out, but you can't give away your identity.
Yes.
And everybody has different goals, and the goal is to find the bomber, like the person who has taken all these people hostage, and their goal is to basically get everybody else killed. And that's cool. There is a card in there where you can play as a police dog and
sniff out the bomber.
It is adorable, and the whole game is done in like those
just tell me you have to woof woof the whole time.
Yeah.
Like you can't actually say words if you
woof 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 woof.
But like the whole thing is done in this really great sort of 80s synthwave art style, and so it's all like really bright, obnoxious neon colors. I love it.
Sorry.
Joseph, what is wrong with you? What did you just do?
I was singing.
He just had a moment there.
The 80s.
What's that song?
I have no idea what tune that is.
Take on me. Take on.
Oh my gosh. It's very difficult when you just go ding 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 ding.
I was
ding,
playing
ding, ding.
background music.
It's kind of sound like a Star Trek boops.
But, well, even then, it's like, what? Do you see any instruments around me? I have nothing. I got nothing. Except my voice.
Beautiful voice.
Apparently.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. That's plenty of stuff that we covered today. So if you want to check out those games, Captain Sonar, Tapestry tomorrow night, 5 p.m. with Emily. It's going to be awesome. Codenames, Resistance, and then that last one you mentioned, Emily, what was that called again?
I don't remember.
Let me just...
It's all good. It's all good. Joseph distracted us with beep, 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 beep.
Distracted? No. Entertained? Yes.
There you go. That's the one. I love it. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching today. See you next week for the next episode of Board Game Talk. Bye.
Bye.